hear you're ready for your dose of reality.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. We're on our road to Wrestlemania, and we're filming this about 3 hours before Elimination Chamber 2021. So, well, that's going to be really awful. We're going to have a little fun here. We're going to talk about WrestleMania 8.
Oh my God, let me tell you.
And again, for those of you that missed it on our WrestleMania 7 review, before this the screening, I had never seen this entire pay-per-view. I've only seen part of one match. So I came into this with a clear, clean perspective. And I must say that it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, the way people made this out to be. It wasn't horrible. The undercard was actually really a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's get down to it. From Indianapolis, Indiana, in the Hoosier Dome.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Where they haven't been since, which is kind of shocking. It was a nice venue. I liked the venue. It was a good place to be.
Yeah, it had a lot of space, full crowd in there. You had Gorilla and the Brain on commentary, which was very odd because usually we're seeing Gorilla and Jesse the Body.
Yeah, Jesse, I think this was 92. He may have been over in WCW at this time. If not, he was on his way out the door. So Gorilla and the Brain, well, they're entertaining on All American Wrestling. They're not quite as good at live matches. Brain felt a little bit like he needed to be funny, and I think sometimes he forced it a little bit, but they can't be touched. I think this was just kind of a little bit, maybe an off night for them.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. They had on the interview side, you had, of course, Shawn Mooney. God, how he stays there. And Gene Okerlund over there. Mean Gene.
We'll just move on. I'm not going to belabor how much we dislike these guys and how much, well, shouldn't say how much we dislike Gene Okerlund, how goofy Gene Okerlund was starting to become. So we're not going to talk about that anymore. We got some good matches here to talk about. Let's move on to that.
Yeah, and then before all that, you had Reba McEntire singing the national anthem.
And I think she did a great job. She really, the power in her voice, she has a very strong, powerful voice, and it's got a natural reverberation that really added to this song. You can tell the crowd really enjoyed it.
I'll tell you, Reba, she did really good.
And like I said, and the crowd really enjoyed this too.
Yeah, I was laughing at that because Bobby kept calling her Reba, and of course Gorilla's like, "Will you stop?"
Well, that led to the first match, El Matador, Tito Santana, against Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, I swear to God. I mean, commentary's still funny. See, the match wasn't bad. I mean, I thought it was very solid.
Yeah.
They had a botch at the end.
They did. It was what I refer to as an oops finish. But I want to talk about that. This was Shawn Michaels. He was only about 3 months into being the Heartbreak Kid. January 12th is when that aired, the kick that broke up the Rockers. So this was only about 3 months of Shawn Michaels. So he's still building it. The Matador was fairly new, so there was a lot of new gimmick going on. So
and you had Sherry Martel.
Yes. So while there wasn't oops, the opening was really, really hot. The ending was just a little goofy. Something was missed there. Timing was off. So all in all, 2.5 stars. It was a decent opening with two guys building new gimmicks, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars. I felt like, yes, there's better ways to set the table, and I say this on my opening matches, but, it wasn't horrible. It worked. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that's true. And this was the first time we heard the 900 plug.
Yes, me too.
So for those of you who were not old enough, back when there were still house phones, everybody had a phone in your house. 800 numbers were free, and 900 numbers were what they were called premium calls, 99 cents a minute. You could get all the information from a recorded hotline. This is the first time WWF on the road to WrestleMania aired the 900 number, and God help us all.
Yeah, God. Make sure you call my hotline.
But moving on, so we don't get stuck on this.
Yeah, thank
because
God.
we don't get paid 99 cents a minute to keep talking about this.
No, I'm telling you. Thank God we had a good segment, though. This is where Mean Gene excelled, because he had the Road Warriors with Precious Paul Ellering out there.
That was so awesome to see. Seeing Paul Ellering back with his lilt and the flow of his almost poetry style telling of promos with the Road Warriors. Man, it was awesome seeing the entire Legion of Doom as they originally were known back together. Well, short of Jake Roberts and King Kong Bundy, but as far as the Road Warriors with Paul Ellering, that Legion of Doom.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this was pre-Rocco, which was wild, because you know, this is one of the better promos. After that, you had that puppet out there, and I was just like, why?
Yeah, Rocco needed to go, but that was really awesome, again, just to hear the whole thing. And the whole pushing the What a Rush hadn't even started yet. It was still just the Road Warriors just being awesome.
Yeah. Now we're going to move on to my Quack Attack. And let me tell you, this was the best match, in my opinion, on the show. Jake the Snake Roberts taking on The Undertaker with Paul Bearer.
This was a really good character build match. There was no hint of there being a streak at this point. This was just making The Undertaker an unstoppable monster that he was and is. They had him sit up after 2 DDTs, which nobody gets up from the DDT, and The Undertaker...
Nobody gets up from half of one, according to Bobby.
Yes, and The Undertaker got set up from 2 and delivered a monster tombstone piledriver on the floor.
Yeah, I gave this 3 3/4 stars. I felt like this was a highlight match of the night. This is where the crowd really got picked up and excited.
It did. I didn't go as high as you did. I felt this match was more of a character-building match than a spectacle that you think it was. I only went 2 3/4 on this one, but it was still a good, very important match in the history of The Undertaker. This is where The Undertaker's psychology and mental attack that he used throughout his career really started to get built.
And if you go back during that year, The Undertaker saved the Macho Man Randy Savage during his wedding ceremony from Jake the Snake.
Yeah, the infamous Cobra strike. Wake up, Cobra. The less we talk about that, the better. Just we'll move forward.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great match, and this one here was also a great match. You ever thought about giving this my Quack Attack? Bret Hart taking on Roddy Piper for the Intercontinental title.
This was a great match. Piper was never well known for his wrestling. He was more known for his spectacle of being an entertainer, his mic work, his psychology. He was a little out of his element, I felt. He kind of looked a little bit lost at times when Hart was trying to wrestle with him. He didn't quite know where to be. But this match had a lot of things going on. Bret Hart got busted open. This is the time when the WWF had a no blood policy, and so we couldn't see it, but apparently Bret Hart has admitted he did do kayfabe word of the day, the blade. The blade is when you cut yourself on purpose to create blood. Then there's the hard way where you take an accidental punch and it breaks you open, which is not intentional. So a blade is intentional and a hard way is not. Kayfabe words of the day. Bret Hart has admitted that he did blade during this match. The two of us with combined 40 years of wrestling experience, we didn't see it.
Yeah.
So it was a really well done hidden blade job. They had a ref bump in there, and one of the few times that I actually liked the sleeper reversal where Bret Hart climbed up the ropes, pushed back, and held Piper down. Strong match. I went 3 stars on this one.
And the wild thing about that pin is about 10 years later, he did this with Stone Cold Steve Austin at Survivor Series. The same exact finish. You know, it's a great finish. People loved it. He done it like more and more throughout time.
Very true, but He did it where it made sense, not where they're both laying there and then one person kicks their shoulder up at the last second. This is the right way to do that style of pin.
The best part I loved about this, though, was the pre-interview, right before it, when Piper's over here talking about, "You're up to my knee, and we used to put mayonnaise on the sandwiches, and Mrs. Hart put a piece of bologna on it." And I'll be like, "Come on, Roddy."
Yeah, that one felt a little odd. Piper came into this match the Intercontinental Champion and left without it. Bret Hart wins his first IC title.
Yeah, moving along here. We get to move into the Lex Luger bodybuilding promo. Before the WBF, he was all excited.
Yeah, Lex Luger was originally brought in not to wrestle, which is a good thing, but to be a bodybuilder for the World Bodybuilding Federation. The intent was they were going to build the World Bodybuilding Federation around him. And then he got in a motorcycle accident and ended up getting a pin put in his arm where he was finishing people with the forearm, a loaded forearm that wasn't.
Yeah, we'll go into that in later WrestleManias because that's coming up.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to make fun of, besides the fact that Lex Luger can't cut a promo, he doesn't belong in wrestling, is he doesn't know how to say the word plethora.
Oh, God, that was classic. If you haven't seen that, make sure you go check that out.
The only thing I could hear, and I hope our editor can find this, and if not, that's all right. If you've ever seen the movie The Three Amigos, I kept looking at the screen going, "Lex, do you know what it means to have a plethora?"
He definitely.
And he didn't know. He sucks.
He did. I'm going to move on here because Ray Combs was a special guest announcer in this 8-man tag here.
And Chuck Norris approves of Ray Combs.
Yes.
This was a great opening to this match.
Yeah, you had Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Big Boss Man, Virgil and Sergeant Slaughter taking on the Nasty Boys, the Repo Man, and the Mountie.
Yes, and Ray Combs, for those of you that were not familiar with Ray Combs, after Richard Dawson left the Family Feud, they brought in a comedian named Ray Combs. And so he did the question, or he was insulting them while saying it was done as a 100 people surveyed, top 4 answers on the board, and it was hilarious. And you could tell some of the reactions of the heels in here, the Nasty Boys and the Repo Man and the Mountie. They wanted to laugh, but they couldn't, and it was that funny. It was a great opening to this 8-man
The
match.
Mountie doesn't know the meaning of the word quit. In fact, he doesn't know a lot of words.
That was awesome.
He got him good.
Oh, he got him good on that one.
And yes, I got to tell you this, because the finish, Virgil gets the pin here. He is 2-0 at WrestleMania.
On Brian Knobbs.
Yes, 2.5 stars for this match.
I went 2 3/4. This match really, if you get right down to it, didn't need to exist. This match was basically created so Ray Combs had something to do. There was no real storyline here. Everybody was just kind of filling time. This got 8 guys a payday. But it was so much fun. It was basically just a spot fest match. But 2 3/4 star, it was so much fun to watch.
Yes, I loved it. Now moving on to the World Championship. And this was something that was, kind of in a mix. Who was going to fight Ric Flair after he won it at the Royal Rumble? That is considered the greatest Royal Rumble of all time.
Yeah, Ric Flair winning it from the number 3 position. Hearing Bobby the whole time, "Be fair to Flair, that's not fair to Flair," was so much importance in the history of the early 90s for the World Wrestling Federation.
And originally this was supposed to be Hulk Hogan going to fight him. But then Macho Man and his wife got all involved, and Sid Vicious turned on Hulk Hogan on that main event. And that led to Macho Man Randy Savage getting his title shot.
Yeah, there's a lot of the backstage story stuff about this that, like you said, originally it was supposed to be Flair and Hogan, and it was supposed to be Savage was going to take on Sid Vicious, who was Sid Justice in the World Wrestling Federation. And there is no straight story about what happened, why Vince changed direction on this. Everybody you ask all has a different story, and none of them are close. So my opinion is that Vince McMahon basically told Hulk Hogan, "Stuff it, we're going in a different direction, and you can work Sid Vicious, the Justice, and see if you can make something out of him." That's what I'm going to go with. But This was the first of the Build double main event, and it was a really, really good match.
Yeah, I mean, this was classic here because you had Kurt Hennig coming out there and interfering in this match. You had all the dirty tricks trying to be pulled, but in the end of the day, the Macho Man, with his moons over hammy here, pulled the victory out, didn't he?
Yeah, and there was a half moon over Indiana that day. The only knock I had on this match, this was my match of the night at 3.5 stars. The only thing I had that was a knock on this is there was too much going on at the end. Because Perfect was out there, Bobby Heenan came out there in the segment afterwards. There was just so much happening around the ring, you kind of missed a little bit of the action. The same thing I mentioned with Andre the Giant coming out during the Mr. Perfect Boss Man. Sometimes there can be too much going on around the ring. Something WCW never learned.
I gave this 4 stars. I gave this 4 stars because I felt like this should have been the main event.
Oh, and then some. This was definitely the best show on. He thought the Jake Roberts one and the Undertaker was the best, and this one right there.
Yeah.
I felt this was the best match, and you're right. This should have been the main event because if nothing else, it's the champ.
Yeah, totally felt like it should be. I mean, unless you got a severe rivalry, which we'll get into that. But yeah, coming down the aisle now, you had, a bunch of Native Americans out there actually doing the tribal dancing.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get into the part before that because that was very good. I wanted to get into something that Sid actually did that was good.
What did Sid do?
Sid ended the barbershop segment.
Yes!
They showed the buildup of Sid Justice not getting the match in a press conference setting, and then he went on the Brutus Beefcake barbershop and just tore it apart, and that was actually the last time the barbershop was used. So thank you, Sid Vicious, for getting rid of the barbershop.
Yes.
Now let's go into that, which was the Native American dance, which was very entertaining and it was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, fans loved it. It was great because you had Tatanka coming out, take on Rick the Model Martel.
Yeah, they really were putting over Tatanka. Chris Chavez, who played Tatanka, is a real Native American from North Carolina, part of the Lumbee Indian tribe.
Yes.
And so they brought out the Lumbee Indians to do some traditional dancing. It was another thing that Vince tried to do, reaching out to different segments of the society. And this was really enjoyable. Tatanka and the Model, this match felt a little slow in the beginning, but it really got going, and it was a good shock win for Tatanka. I did go 2.5 stars.
He's trying to get that out. Yeah, 2.5 for me too. And it was a great, setting of the table. Like I said, it kept the show going. It was a great match and all, and it helped Tatanka throughout the next 2-3 years really get his shine in the World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah, he should have had a better career than he did. I don't know what happened to him, but something happened, and
I know what happened to him. He got to stand there on backstage on the Legends show. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
The tag team titles. Money Inc. taking on the Natural Disasters.
Yeah, Money Inc., the tag team champions. That's Ted DiBiase and Erwin Arsheister, by the way, for those 2 or 3 people who were not familiar with Money Incorporated. Taking on Earthquake and Typhoon, which this was a good storytelling match. It was a lot of fun to watch. Typhoon normally is a better worker than this. He started out really good, and then for some reason he kind of pulled his Fred Ottman. He stumbled through the door, like he turned his back and took a clothesline in the back and fell on his back. So Fred Ottman is normally a lot better than this. But his inner Shockmaster came out partway through. Money Incorporated took the deliberate count out, which, again, great thing, heels. There's nothing wrong with being honest.
That's right, and that's what we do here as heels. Yeah.
All right, so this was a... please...
Yeah, I gave this match 2.5 stars. I loved it. I really did.
No, I'm talking about the next garbage.
I know. I'm going to...
Are you trying to stall on this?
I am, because... like I just said, Money Inc. did a great job. It was great to hear, to see the great chemistry they had in that ring. Like I said, a good setting of the table.
Let's see if we can get through this one in about 10 seconds.
Yeah. This is about how long the match took. Skinner taking on Owen Hart.
Spit in the face, Owen Hart, roll up, win. Let's move on to the next match.
Yeah, I gave that, what did I give that here?
I gave it 2 stars, but, and but is Steve Kern really...
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars too. Yeah, that was that quick. We probably just completed the whole match there. Into the main event here. Psycho Sid. Sid Justice with Dr. Harvey Whippleman taking on Hulk Hogan.
Dr. Harvey Whippleman. For those of you who are not familiar with Harvey Whippleman, he was a manager. He actually spent more time known as Downtown Bruno.
Yes.
And then he came to the WWF and he fell into the same problem that Vito fell into, and Mosh and Pitt and Thrasher, the headbangers. They discovered they liked women's clothing. He won the women's title as Hervina.
That's right, Hervina. Yeah, give it up. Yeah.
And they showed a package, and I'm sorry, I have to pull it out here. I'm not going to be as nutty and bombastic as I am, but you know what?
Just do it. Yeah. Make sure you get that whole thing.
Because the opening that they showed how Sid Justice was an unstoppable, insane monster who needed to be chased with a net and a guys in white coats. And then we had a regular wrestling match where they tied up. And then to make it even worse, Sid jumped the open and did the exact same spot before the bell rang. And then as soon as they came in, he did it again because he didn't know he wasn't supposed to jump the bell. Sid Justice, you suck.
Yes, you do. But don't worry.
One Sid Justice story. I don't know if a picture exists. If not, if it doesn't come up there, I'm going to tell you about it. Sid Vicious got his ass whooped by Brian Pillman, and he came back to the fight with a squeegee. I'm talking from the gas station squeegee.
He did. But I'm going to tell you, just in case you didn't think I remembered, my 2-finger salute right here for the worst part of the show. Papa Shango was supposed to run out and cause a disqualification in this match. He was overly late. This has been well documented throughout the annals of professional wrestling here.
Yes, this is the one time Hogan was not supposed to kick out of a powerbomb.
Yes. And thank God for Harvey Whippleman trying to come in and distract. You know, he tried to save him. But yeah, Papa Shango, you'll see him. He's walking down there all slow, looking all confused, and then eventually hits the ring. And then we get the Ultimate Warrior, where he's standing there looking at him running from one side of the ring, and then clotheslining him over top the other.
Yeah, this was just horrible. And you could tell that the opening was botched, too, because they didn't turn off Hulk Hogan's music during the pre-bell attack.
Yeah.
So we were thinking somebody missed the cue to turn off the music, and then when they went into the exact same drop-down spot right after the tie-up, we were like, no, Sid just blew it. And then we get Papa Shango blew it.
Right there. Seriously. This was horrible. This was the worst main event I have ever seen at a WrestleMania.
Yes.
And I'm not even talking the first 8. I'm talking the entirety. I gave this 1.5 stars. I felt like this should have been where Flair and Macho Man's match was. They should have just reversed.
This should have been the semi-main, because usually that's a popcorn match. This should have been a popcorn match.
Yeah, this was god-awful.
And this is a good lesson for those of you young people trying to get into the world of independent wrestling or trying to understand wrestling psychology. Watch the whole thing. I hate to tell you that, but watch the whole thing. Watch the buildup of they're trying to make Sid insane. They're trying to make him powerful. And the match did not match the story they were telling. They went from the tie-up, drop-down, then they went into the Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Those 2 spots should not be used if you're trying to create that the 2 guys hate each other and one's insane. You don't do traditional wrestling when you're trying to build, the story you built is the exact opposite. You were generous with 1.5. I gave it 1 star. And the only reason I gave it 1 star is because the referee did a good job on telling Hulk Hogan the ending was late, kick out.
Yeah, thank God for that. Well, that's it for WrestleMania 8, but don't worry, because coming up next week, this is regarded as one of the worst WrestleManias, and it's been a while since you've seen it, I know.
It's been a while since I've seen it, and I've reached out to my good friend R.D. Reynolds. He runs a site called WrestleCrap. He wrote a book called WrestleCrap, The Worst in Wrestling, and over half the pictures on the cover of that book come from this pay-per-view. If that gives you any idea, if you've never seen it, what you're in for, whatever you use to get yourself ready and lubricated, take it before you watch our show, because we're going to need something too.
Yeah, if you thought Bash in the Beach 2000 was bad, get ready, folks.
Yeah, but at least this one's fun. It's not insanely, inanely stupid. This one's just stupid, fun, stupid.
Stupid, fun, stupid. And I'm your host, Dr. Quack.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, telling you, follow us down the road to WrestleMania, and we'll see you on the next show.
And I'm out.